So what is going on, people, and welcome to another video. And as you can see, the hairband is in today. It is rather hot, so yeah, getting the hair out of the fringe, you know. Although I've had this look for a little while now, and a friend of mine did say that I look like Chris Jericho. I mean, we'll just put a comparison photo just there. Cheers, mate. Thank you. Anyway. Last time out we did I reacted to my championship prediction. So today what we're going to do is react to my Premier League prediction. So I'm getting my Microsoft Excel and Windows snipping tool expertise at the ready. That little squeak was the chair. My chair is absolutely buggered. Anyway, let's get down to it. Right, headphones on, so we can listen to some music. But now, let's start with the bottom three, as we did last time out. So, Fulham, West Brom and Sheffield United, the three teams to get relegated. We'll start at the bottom, Sheffield United. It was disastrous. Actually, to be fair, in the end, it didn't look as bad as it initially was. They only finished 3 points adrift from West Brom. So actually, when you look at it in that context, it wasn't as bad as it looked earlier on in the season, but they did finish 16 points adrift of safety, so from that aspect, not great. Really surprised, they were really unlucky early doors. They were playing well, just weren't quite getting the results, but then that started happening week in, week out, and you just sort of really feared for them. I actually predicted Sheffield United to finish in 10th this year. I got this disastrously wrong. I was really impressed with them last year, thought they'd carry on their momentum. Second season syndrome has certainly hit them, and there they are, back down to the Championship with Slavisa Jokanovic as their new manager. He knows the Championship very well, has managed to get promoted from there, so it's a really good appointment for them. Be interesting to see what happens in terms of movement in and out of the squad in this summer. I don't know, I feel like it might be challenging for them to go straight back up, but you know, they might be that sort of dark horse. So in 19th place it was West Bromwich Albion. I had them to finish bottom. They didn't really surprise me. They're just that typical yo-yo team. Too good for the Championship, not good enough for the Premier League. Many expected them to go down, they duly obliged. They got rid of the manager halfway through the season. I can't even remember who their manager was at this point now. Brought in Big Sam, so you know, you're already admitting defeat by bringing in Big Sam, and he managed to get his first relegation of his career, which is quite impressive. But yeah, it was never really going to work out. So yeah, West Brom back down to the Championship, but they'll be strong next year. Wouldn't surprise me if they get promoted, to be honest. And then in 18th, Fulham, and I think a lot of teams over the years sort of grew to enjoy and like Fulham. Played really good football. But kind of like Norwich last season, played really good football, but just couldn't get the results with it. And unfortunately, that was the same for Fulham. You know, Scotty Parker's done a really good job. He's been touted for a couple of Premier League jobs. So, yeah, I think he's definitely got a big future, Scott Parker, as a manager. I'm sure Fulham, there's been no talk of getting rid of him. I'm sure Fulham will keep him. And again, just sort of one of those teams. It'll be interesting to see what happens over the summer. A lot of people's favourites to win the league already next year, and I've seen some odds coming out already. A lot of people talking up Fulham to win the league next year. I certainly think they'll be up there. If they continue playing the way that they did this season, I think it's can only bring good things, and yeah, I think they'll definitely be up there. Yeah, they were the one sort of shining light. You think, oh, they might have the best chance to stay up, but in the end, finishing 11 points adrift, and yeah, the bottom. I don't think the bottom three have ever been relegated that early, if memory serves, in the Premier League. I'm pretty sure I read that somewhere. So yeah, it was with a few games to go. So yeah. So in 17th were Burnley. Now this is a big surprise. Obviously they had a really good season last season. I think they finished 10th, maybe 9th or something like that. Sean Dyche has done a great job, obviously, since he's been there. A lot of people suggesting that maybe he would leave this year. You know, whether that be he'd get a better job, or, you know, he would resign because maybe he's taken Burnley as far as he can. Been touted for a lot of bigger jobs. I think he's certainly shown his stock. You know, he's a good manager. Didn't have the best season this season, but you know, it's Burnley are one of those teams. I think last season was a bit of a outlier, if you like. I think they're probably always going to be like a bottom half team, but in the end, comfortably avoiding relegation. But they'll certainly be disappointed to finish 17th, considering where they finished last season. Now in 16th, I got 3 teams bang on this time round. I think I only got one in the Championship, and this was one of them. 16th place, Brighton. I called that. Again, one of those teams that were quite unfortunate. A lot of draws for Brighton. They got 14 draws this season. Just one of those teams. They were the sort of become the bit of the meme team, didn't they, this season about XG? And if they sort of hit their XG, they'd be a lot higher up the table. But you know, XG it's a controversial stat, to say the least, especially in the Football Manager community. 16th place, Potter got some admiration this season. Again, Brighton playing some good football. He managed to keep them up. You know, I think Brighton is just one of those teams, again, similar to Burnley. They're probably always going to be your bottom half team. You know, it's sort of good to see the lower teams trying to play good football. And again, Graham Potter touted for some bigger jobs as well. So it'll be interesting to see if he goes anywhere. In 15th, Southampton, I had them to finish in 13th, so only a couple of places out. I think they'll be disappointed, Southampton. I think Hasenhüttl has done a fairly good job since he's been in the hot seat. I think they'll be disappointed by this one, though. Sort of quite a poor end to the season. They were right up there at one point, if memory serves. But yeah, I feel like under Hasenhüttl, Southampton should probably be looking to be a top half team, to finish as low as 15th. I think they'll certainly be disappointed. In 14th place, Palace. I had Palace to finish 17th. I thought they'd narrowly avoid relegation. And, well, they've done better than that. They finished, well, 5 points ahead of Burnley. Still quite tight towards the bottom few places. But yeah, 14th. Obviously, Roy is leaving. I don't think he's retiring. He's just stopping managing in the Premier League, if memory serves. But yeah, you know, he's done it again, guided them to safety. Again, Palace are one of those teams that they don't really show much ambition, so they're always going to be a sort of bottom half team. But they've done much better than I thought they would, so it'd be interesting to see who they get in. I know there's been talk about the Swansea manager, Simon Cooper. I think the last time I looked, Nuno was the favourite. I think he's joint favourite. He's favourite for the Palace and Everton job the last time I looked. But nevertheless, yeah, it'd be interesting. Hopefully for Palace's sake, they get a manager in that can really lift them. In 13th place, Wolves. A big surprise to many. A lot of them, you know, the way that Wolves have established themselves in the Premier League. A lot of people, I think, would have had them to finish in the top half, and so did I. I had them to finish 9th. Really enjoyed the football that they've been playing under Nuno. Obviously, losing Raul Jimenez, I think, is probably what cost them their season, to be honest. Such a vital player up front for them. And obviously fractured his skull. Fabio Silva, a bit of a legend on this channel because of the Barnsley save on FIFA. But he just couldn't step in. I mean, he's only 19. He's got to, you know, adapt to the league and the physicality, I suppose, of this league. But just sort of couldn't step up and score the goals that Jimenez does. Yeah, as we said, Nuno, we've already mentioned him. Nuno's gone. I don't know whether he's sacked or sort of was a mutual thing. I'm surprised, to be honest, that he wasn't sacked during the season. They were at one point where they were really, really struggling, and I thought he might go then. But they stuck with him to the end of the season, parted ways. I believe Bruno Lager, I want to say, maybe Lager, who knows. He looks like he's the favourite to get the job. From what I understand, it's just work permit issues that are holding that one up. But yeah, it seems like that one's imminent. But yeah, really disappointing for Wolves. I guess with the appointment of Lager, of course, is Portuguese himself. They're going to stick with their Portuguese philosophy. But yeah, big summer, I think, for Wolves needed. I think they'll have a lot of players coming in and out. It wouldn't surprise me. Another team that I got bang on this time around was Newcastle. They finished in 12th. And actually a decent end to the season for them. They struggling for a long time. Obviously, Bruce getting the usual stick that he does. But he guided them to a decent finish. You know, I think most Newcastle fans would have taken 12th at the start of the season, especially with Bruce in charge, and he's duly delivered. You know, obviously the ongoing saga of Mike Ashley, whether that gets resolved this summer, who knows. But he certainly, you know, he hasn't been shy in backing Bruce. You know, like they splashed 40 million on Joel Linton a couple of years ago, so the money is there to spend if they want it. I think it's just about spending it wisely. So yeah, I think a decent sort of finish for Newcastle. Like I said, I'm sure they would have taken 12th. You know, whether Bruce is still in charge at the start of next season, who knows? I'd be a bit sort of surprised if they did sack him, to be honest. But, you know, it's Mike Ashley, so who knows? In 11th place, one of my biggest shockers in this in terms of these Premier League predictions, in 11th was Villa. I actually had them to get relegated. Had a fantastic season, I think, by their standards. If you'd have said to any Villa fan at the start of the season, you're going to end the season in 11th, they would have bitten your hand off, considering they sort of avoided relegation on the last day of last season. Yeah, they had a really good start to the season, right up there in contention. I think in the end they'll probably be disappointed with 11th, to be honest. Like I said, such a good season, just sort of slipped away towards the end. They did pick up a couple of wins right at the end of the season. But yeah, I think they'll probably be disappointed not to finish in the top half, considering how well they did. You know, Emi Martinez in goal is fantastic for them. Obviously, Ollie Watkins come in and done a very good job. Grealish has really stepped up this season, but you know, he's become so much so, he's in a lot of people's minds one of the first names on the team sheet for the upcoming Euros for England. So shows how important he is and how well he's done. And you know, for their sake, they'll be hoping that Grealish can lead them to bigger and better things next season. I'm sure they'll be looking for a top half finish next season and really push on, and I think Dean Smith's done a really good job there. So we move into the top half of the table then, and in 10th, Everton, who of course have just lost their manager Carlo Ancelotti, who's amazingly gone back to Real Madrid. I'm impressed he's managed to get that job, to be honest. I think Everton had, by their standards, a pretty disappointing season, to be honest. A lot of people had them as their dark horses to finish, certainly in the European spots, let alone Champions League. You know, they signed James, they signed Allen and Decore as well, and there were, you know, people were ranting and raving about how much that would improve their midfield, and just it didn't. I got a friend of mine who's an Everton fan, and we were talking a few days ago, and we were talking about the new signings, and I was saying about James, and I said, you know, after sort of September, October time, I didn't hear anything about him like doing anything good, and he said, yeah, he just sort of disappeared for most of the season. So it wouldn't surprise me if James is gone, especially if Ancelotti's gone as well. But Everton's one of them. I just think it sort of needs a bit of a refresh, if you like. I know we've sort of been saying that about Everton for a couple of years now. They need a rebuild, but it depends who they get in a manager. Of course, as I mentioned the last time I looked, Nuno was the favourite for that job. So if he does come in, it'd be interesting to see, you know, whether he brings a Portuguese philosophy to the club, or whether he's got maybe a bit happier to have free reign and sign sort of different players. So yeah, I think Everton will be disappointed with the 10th place finish. They'll certainly be looking to improve. In 9th place, Leeds United, really good season from them. I had them to finish 11th. I thought they'd do well under Bielsa, and they've done even better than I thought they would. Didn't draw many games, just looking at the table now, only drew 5 games all season, but 18 wins on your return to the Premier League is not to be sniffed at. Won the last 4 games of the season as well. I mean, what can you say? You know you're going to get good football under Bielsa. It's probably going to be successful, and well, they definitely were. Bamford was a standout this season. You know, 17 goals I think he scored. A lot of people saying that he should be going to the Euros instead of Calvert-Lewin. It's kind of, I think they got the same goals. I think Bamford got more assists. I don't think DCL got any assists, whereas Bamford got some. It's kind of hard. You look at that. It's kind of hard. You know, it's a good argument. Bamford certainly can feel unlucky to miss out the Euros. But yeah, really good season from Leeds. Be interesting to see what they do in the summer, who they bring in, whether they can bring in some real quality to add to the squad they've got. Obviously, you know, likes of Pablo Hernandez is retired, who's just highly revered by Leeds fans. But yeah, no, there's talk about Rafinha leaving as well to maybe Liverpool, or saw Man United linked as well. So if they can keep hold of him and add some more real quality, then I certainly think they'll be looking to probably maybe push for European places next season. Who knows? So in 8th spot then we have Arsenal, and the first season that Arsenal haven't qualified for Europe in 25 years, I think. They're going to be majorly disappointed. Did win their last 5 games of the season, so went on a real run actually, and ran Spurs close to a 7th place finish. I mean, the whole Super League thing as well, you could talk about that forever and a day. But obviously the unrest at board level, the Spotify owner wanted to buy them, but Kroenke said no. Maybe Arsenal not being in Europe next season could be a good thing for them. Arteta can certainly really look to rebuild that squad. I know there's talk about plenty of movement. The likes of Bellerin has been one that's talked about leaving to free up funds. But yeah, I think maybe it could be a good thing for Arsenal not being in Europe. Focus solely on the league. And if they get their movement right, I mentioned that quite a lot for a lot of teams about getting their transfers and stuff right, but it can be so important. And I think for a team like Arsenal, they might not be able to attract the same calibre of player they could if they're in the Champions League, but Arsenal's still a big club, so they certainly will be able to attract some names. And they're certainly showing faith in Arteta. It's certainly early doors this season. There was a lot of talk about whether he was the right man for the job. They've stuck with him. It's good to see. I like to see managers getting time. Arsenal, I would expect them to be up and around next season. Maybe not. I don't necessarily think near the title, but they'll certainly be pushing. I think top 6 are definite, maybe top 4 would be interesting to see. So in 7th spot then, they're North London rivals in Tottenham. And I had Tottenham to finish in 5th. I don't think I mentioned it. I had Arsenal to finish in 6th. Got both of those a couple of spots away. But Spurs, I mean, it's just been a bit of a torrid season, I think, all round for Spurs. Obviously, Mourinho sacked a week before the Carabao Cup final. Really interesting timing. Mason come in and, did what he could. Obviously, that was his first, sort of proper managerial first team experience. And he's only 29 as well. So, it was always going to be a challenge for him. But I felt like he did as well as he could. Obviously, looks like Kane is off this summer. Looks like he finally wants to leave. I'm surprised it's taken this long, to be honest. He's obviously, he loves Tottenham. Of course he does. Probably wanted to try and stick with them for as long as possible. But he's, 27 now? 26? 27? Just turned 27, I think, maybe. He wants to go out and win trophies, and you can't blame him. I think, for me, the only plausible club for him to join this summer is Man City. I know there's been, both Manchester clubs and Chelsea have been linked. Obviously, Chelsea winning the Champions League this season was a massive achievement, but whether they will be able to consistently challenge for titles, I'm not too sure. They finished, 19 points adrift of City this season, so a bit of a gap to close. Although saying that, they did beat them in the Champions League final, of course. United, I just feel like City's the best place for him, but it will take a hell of a lot of money to get him off the books, of course. Levy will drive a hard bargain, as he always does. I think certainly the biggest question mark at the moment is who will they get to fill the manager's job. Mourinho gone. Lots of talk, I think, to start with. It was Brendan Rodgers, but, why would he want to leave Leicester? They finished 5th this season. They tried to get Pochettino back from PSG. Doesn't look like he's going anywhere. They looked at the Ajax manager, but he signed a new contract. They tried to get Conte after he left Inter, but he's looks like they've sort of lowballed him out of an offer, out of a job, to be honest. So the sort of debacle for the manager's job goes on at the moment. I think the last time I looked, Poch was still the favourite, but I think the latest name, the shortest odds for a name that sort of hasn't either been in talks or rejected it or whatever is Roberto Martinez, but he's obviously the Belgian manager and he's got the Euros to worry about, so it doesn't look like it's going to be sorted at Spurs anytime soon. But that's exactly what they need, to get someone in and sort of get recruiting and stuff going. So yeah, I think, they've got the Conference League next season. That'll be interesting to see how that goes, the first sort of season of that. But yeah, I think if Kane goes, wouldn't surprise me if the like Son wants to go as well. That team needs a lot of work. So I think they'll sort of around 7th next season will probably be where they'll probably finish sort of best of the rest, maybe challenge for the top 6. I think everyone's surprise package this season for certain. 6th place, West Ham United. What a season they've had. I had them to finish 15th. The last few seasons they just haven't been anything spectacular, but what a job David Moyes has done with that team. How he hasn't won Manager of the Year, I do not know. But yeah, European football for West Ham next season, absolutely superb. You know, Antonio is brilliant for them this season. Souček as well. They're like a proper team. Do you know what I mean? Like they just, that's what you get. Like that's the feeling I get from West Ham. It's like we do everything together. You know, run together. They'll die for each other if they had to on the pitch. And that's really good to see. And it's just, yeah, an amazing job that Moyes has done. I don't know really what else. I mean, you know, there's not much else you can say. They just had a superb season. And, you know, now they've got Europe, hopefully, for their sake, the owners will properly back Moyes and give him the cash that he needs to add some real quality to the squad. So in 5th place finished Leicester City. They'll be really disappointed to have missed out on top 4. Again, I think they spent the longest time in the top 4 this season. And again, on the final day, I think they did last season as well, missed out. Yeah, really disappointed them to miss out on Champions League, but a phenomenal season once again. I think they'll do pretty well in the Europa League. Brodge has obviously done a really good job. I think, you know, they always are in the transfer market, but I think they'll bring smart. They'll bring in some good players. I'm fairly sure they've agreed a deal for, is it something like Bakary Samare or something from Lille or something like that? I think he's like a defensive midfielder type. And I know Fabrizio Romano was reporting today that they're in advanced talks to sign Odsonne Edouard from Celtic, which could be a massive signing for them. If he can sort of come in and slowly sort of take Vardy's place, he could score some real goals and be a real sort of asset for them. But yeah, Leicester, they're just a side you sort of, you can't help but like, if you know what I mean. Good players, they sort of play in the right way. All the way, you know, the relationship all the way down from the players to the manager to the owner. You know, it's a really well-run club, and yeah, happy for Leicester that they've finished where they did. I had actually them to come 8th this season, so they're much better than I thought they would. So the top 4 then, I got the top 4, but not in the correct order. I only got one of the top 4 in the right place. So we'll go with 4th. Chelsea finished in 4th. I had them to finish 3rd. A real season of two halves for Chelsea. First half of the season, bit of a disaster. Frank just couldn't get the team going for whatever reason. Spent big money in the summer. Werner, Havertz coming in. Werner, I think, even though his form improved since Tuchel come in, is still sort of suffering a little bit. He missed those 2 chances early doors in the Champions League final, and you thought, oh God, is it going to be one of those days again? But luckily for him, sort of Havertz was there to grab the winning goal. But yeah, Frank couldn't get it going, lost his job. Lots of sort of talk around that, whether it was the right decision. I think for me, it probably was the right decision. You know, he might be a Chelsea legend, but if any other manager was in that position, with the amount of money that was spent, they were languishing in sort of 8th or 9th in the league. It's just not good enough for Chelsea. So I think it was the right decision, and it obviously proved to be so. You know, Tuchel comes in, gets to an FA Cup final. Unfortunately, Leicester beat them to that. Yeah, lost the FA Cup final, but won the all-important one, didn't they? Won the Champions League. They were superb on that night. Kante absolutely ran the game, and they run out deserved winners in that final. So, yeah, Tuchel's got his new contract. So has Thiago Silva. I think he'll bring in some good players. He's a well-respected manager. So yeah, I think next season Chelsea could be contenders. I thought the top 3 would be really close this season, but obviously it didn't prove to be. But yeah, I think Chelsea could be up there next season for certain. So 3rd place finished Liverpool. I had them to finish 2nd. Yeah, fantastic end to the season. They won like 9 of their last 10 games or something, but it was looking a bit ropey for a while for Liverpool. Really suffered with injuries this season. Obviously, Van Dijk got, assaulted by Jordan Pickford in the Merseyside derby. October time maybe. So he missed the season. Gomez broke his leg, didn't he? So he's missed most of the season. They had to bring in Kabak in from Schalke in January, and Ben Davis from Preston as well. I don't think Davis saw a minute of football, and Kabak sort of looked a bit shaky as well, although coming from a team that were rock bottom of the Bundesliga is hardly a surprise. But they were expecting to finish in the Champions League. They did. I'm sure they would have expected to run a much closer challenge to City than they did. Ended up finishing 17 points adrift. I think if you ask any sort of Liverpool fan or even Klopp, he would have said if they hadn't had the injuries, then they would have run City much closer. I think it's true, but again, you know, around Christmas they had that spell of form where they just couldn't score. Their front three couldn't score for love nor money. So maybe a couple of fresh faces wouldn't hurt. Liverpool really bolster the squad again. Obviously, they're losing Wijnaldum. Looks like he's off to PSG now instead of Barca. Maybe a big name up front or something could sort of really get them going. Obviously, they've got Konate coming in from Leipzig, which is a massive signing. Really rate that. So yeah, him and I feel a bit bad for Joe Gomez, or maybe he could play at right back or something, who knows. Expect Liverpool to improve next season. In second, Man United. I had them to finish 4th. I mean, really good season from United. Really good season. Second in the league by 5 points. Got to the Europa League final. Obviously, that was disappointing. But yeah, Ollie just sort of, for the amount of stick he's got over the time that he's been in charge, he's done a fantastic job. Just gone under the radar, just done his thing. And he's produced the results. So he's transformed some of that. Like, look at Luke Shaw. Luke Shaw has had a fantastic season. One of the, arguably the best left back in the division. Is, transformed. He looked like he was surefire out the door. Even at the start of the season, they bring in Alex Telles from Porto, who you think is just going to nail down that spot. But actually, Shaw and Maguire, that partnership on the left has been superb. Maguire, I think, has had a really good season as well. It's just been, I think, for all the stick United get, I mean, they lost the same amount of games as City this season. They just drew 6 more games. So I think it goes understated how good the job that Ollie did. Again, signings, they'll certainly be looking to improve. I think United, maybe Cavani's done a really good job, but if you could bring in like that sort of that number 9 who's just, you're going to get goals from. And Cavani's scored a lot of goals. He's no spring chicken, is he? So, yeah, I think if they could bring in like a top number 9, they'd be in real shout next season. And then, of course, your league winners, and this is one that I got bang on. I called Man City to win the league, and they duly obliged. 12 points clear of their Manchester rivals. I said, at the start of the season, they'll be hurting from last season. And they will be desperate to reclaim their trophy, and they did, and most of the season they did it without playing a striker, so it just shows how good they've been this season. Unbelievable season from them. Obviously, you'll be disappointed. They got their first Champions League final and couldn't get the job done. It's a trophy that still eludes Pep at Man City, but they're always going to be in and around. But again, sort of, it'd be interesting to see who they can bring in the summer. Obviously, I mentioned, I think Kane will go there. So that team done that well without a striker. Imagine how well they'll do with Kane. So, it could be a scary proposition next season. But one that'll be, I'm not too sure how it will go next season. It'll be interesting. I think I'll do pre-season predictions again for the Championship and the Premier League. But yeah, I'm gonna I'll leave it to just before the start of the season, and see what happens over the summer. But yeah, I think the top 4 could be quite tight. It was fairly spread out this season, but hopefully, for everyone's sake, it'd just make it more entertaining, wouldn't it? It'd be good if it's very tightly contested next season. But that is it, guys. That is my reaction to my Premier League predictions. I'll do what I did last time. The amount of points, like difference-wise, I'll put up there. Yeah, so I mentioned in the last video, got the idea from Spencer. I'll see how many points he got, and then compare how well I did compared to Spencer. So that's it for this video, guys. Hope you've enjoyed it. We will be getting back to gameplay videos very soon. I'm recording this on the Monday, but the likeness probably won't come out until tomorrow. Just because of time. We've got some stuff going on at the moment, sort of family-wise. So just been a bit all over the place. Don't know what that was all about. But yeah, been a bit all over the place. So probably won't have time to get this out until tomorrow. Ideally, like to get a couple more videos out this week. We'll probably try and get a Barnsley video out maybe. But we'll see how it goes. Just watch this space. But if you have enjoyed it, guys, make sure you pop a like on the video for me. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any further content. And we'll see you in the next one. Fucking Chris Jericho.